September 2003, Burbank, California. A Warner Brothers soundstage converted into a boxing gym. Clint Eastwood stands behind the monitor watching a young actor throw a punch at a heavy bag. The punch is wrong. Anyone who's ever been in a real gym knows it. The actor is performing, not fighting. He's showing the camera what a punch looks like instead of actually throwing one. Clint doesn't say anything. He just watches. The crew knows this silence. They've learned to read it over the years. When Clint is quiet, something is about to change. The actor's name is Ryan. 26 years old, fresh off a supporting role in a romantic comedy that made $80 million. His agent told him this role in $1 Million Baby would make him a serious actor, transform his career, make him someone directors like Clint Eastwood take seriously. But Ryan doesn't understand something yet, something every actor who works with Clint learns eventually. Clint Eastwood doesn't care about your last film. He doesn't care about your box office numbers or your agent's promises. He cares about one thing. Are you willing to do the work? The scene they're shooting is simple. Ryan plays a boxer training in the background while Hilary Swank's character works with Morgan Freeman. Ryan has no lines. He's essentially a living prop. His job is to look like a real boxer, to make the gym feel authentic, to not break the illusion, but every time Ryan throws a punch, he breaks it, because he's acting. And Clint Eastwood has one rule about acting: don't. After the fifth take, Clint stands up. The entire crew goes quiet. When Clint stands during a take, it means something is wrong. He walks onto the set, moving slowly, deliberately. He stops in front of Ryan. "How long did you train?" Clint asks. His voice is calm, almost friendly. 3 weeks, Mr. Eastwood," Ryan says, clearly proud. 6 days a week, 4 hours a day. "My trainer said I picked it up faster than most actors." Clint nods. "Your trainer lied to you." The set goes completely silent. Ryan's face goes red. He doesn't know how to respond. Nobody has ever talked to him like this, not since he became successful. "Come here," Clint says. He walks over to the heavy bag. Ryan follows, unsure what's happening. The camera is still rolling. The crew is watching. This moment is being recorded. Clint stands in front of the bag. He's 73 years old. He hasn't thrown a competitive punch in decades. But when he hits the bag, everyone on set feels it. The sound is different, deeper, real. "A punch isn't a performance," Clint says. "It's physics, weight transfer, hip rotation, follow-through. You're showing me what you think a punch looks like. I need you to actually punch." Ryan tries again. It's better, but it's still not right. There's still something performative about it. He's still aware of the camera, still aware of the crew watching, still trying to look good. Clint watches him for a moment. Then he says something that will change everything. "You have 1 hour. Go find someone who actually knows how to fight. Learn from them. Come back when you're ready to work. If you're not ready in 1 hour, you're off this film." The crew exchanges glances. This is it. This is the rule, the only rule that matters to Clint Eastwood. Be professional or be gone. No second chances, no excuses, no ego. Just work. Ryan disappears. The assistant director wants to continue filming other angles, but Clint says no. They'll wait, because this moment matters. If Ryan comes back and still can't do the work, everyone on set will see what happens when you waste Clint Eastwood's time. 50 minutes later, Ryan returns. His knuckles are red. His shirt is soaked with sweat. He looks different, less polished, more real. "I found a stuntman," Ryan says. "Former Golden Gloves boxer. He showed me what I was doing wrong." Clint doesn't respond. He just nods toward the bag. The cameras roll. Ryan takes his position. And this time, when he throws the punch, it's real. Not perfect, not technically flawless, but real. The sound is different. His body moves differently. He's not performing anymore. He's doing. Clint watches the entire take without moving. When it's over, he says one word: better. That's it. No praise, no criticism, just acknowledgement. And for Ryan, it's more valuable than any Oscar nomination, because Clint Eastwood just told him he did the work. The story spreads through Hollywood within days, another example of Clint's impossible standards. Another actor pushed to the edge, another legend about the man who refuses to compromise. But what most people don't understand is why Clint does this, why he demands so much, why he's willing to shut down production and fire actors rather than accept mediocrity. It's not about ego, it's not about power, it's about respect. Respect for the craft, respect for the audience, respect for the truth. Clint Eastwood grew up during the Depression. His family moved constantly, following his father's work. There was never enough money, never enough stability, never enough certainty. But one thing was certain: you did your job or you didn't eat. There was no middle ground, no excuses, no room for half measures. That philosophy shaped everything Clint became. When he arrived in Hollywood in 1954, he watched actors show up late, unprepared, entitled. He watched directors yell and throw tantrums and blame everyone except themselves when things went wrong. He watched the industry reward performance over substance, image over craft. And he decided that when he had power, he would do things differently. He would create sets where professionalism mattered more than fame, where doing the work mattered more than looking good, where the only rule that mattered was, be ready. By 2003, Clint had been directing for 31 years. He'd made 23 films. He had a reputation for shooting fast, coming in under budget, treating crew members like family. But he also had another reputation. If you weren't professional, you were gone. It didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter how famous. It didn't matter how much the studio loved you. If you showed up unprepared, if you wasted people's time, if you treated the work like it didn't matter, Clint would replace you. And the thing is, he never had to fire many people. Because word spread. When you work for Clint Eastwood, you show up ready. You know your lines. You've done your research. You understand your character. You respect the process, or you don't work for Clint Eastwood. $1 Million Baby had a small budget by Hollywood standards. $30 million. That meant every day mattered. Every scene mattered. Every actor, no matter how small their role, had to pull their weight. Hilary Swank understood this. She trained for months before filming began, boxing 6 days a week, gaining 19 pounds of muscle, learning to move like a fighter, think like a fighter, breathe like a fighter. When she showed up on set, she wasn't Hilary Swank playing a boxer. She was Maggie Fitzgerald, a woman who had nothing except her dream and her willingness to bleed for it. Morgan Freeman understood it too. He'd worked with Clint before. He knew the rules. He showed up early every day. He knew every line, not just his own. He watched the other actors, helped them find their performances. He made everyone around him better. But Ryan didn't understand. Not at first. He thought his talent was enough, his charm, his previous success. He thought Clint would be impressed by his resume. He learned different. 3 weeks into production, something else happened. They were filming a scene in the corner office where Frankie Dunn, Morgan's character, runs his gym. It's a quiet scene, just dialogue, Morgan and Hilary talking about her future, about whether she has what it takes to become a champion. The scene required several extras in the background. Boxers training, working the bags, jumping rope. The extras had been hired and trained. They knew the choreography. Everything was ready. Except one extra didn't show up. He called in sick, said he had the flu. The production assistant suggested they shoot around him, adjust the framing so his absence wouldn't be noticeable. Clint said no. They'd wait, find a replacement, do it right. The assistant director, trying to be helpful, suggested using one of the stand-ins. He's here anyway. We can dress him up, put him in the background. Nobody will notice. Clint turned to look at him. The set went quiet. Everyone knew what that look meant. Everyone will notice, Clint said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. The audience might not know what's wrong, but they'll feel it. They'll feel that something isn't right, that we didn't care enough to do it properly. He paused. Let the words sink in. We do it right, or we don't do it at all. Find someone who can actually box. I'll wait. They found someone, a local boxer training at a nearby gym. He came in, learned the choreography in 20 minutes, and when they finally shot the scene, it was perfect, authentic, real. That extra ended up in the background for maybe 3 seconds of screen time. Most people watching the film never noticed him, but Clint noticed, the crew noticed, and it set a standard. Nothing gets half-assed on a Clint Eastwood set, not the leads, not the supporting actors, not the extras, not a single frame. This is why Clint shoots so fast, not because he's careless, but because everyone comes prepared. There's no wasted time, no ego battles, no drama, just professionals doing their jobs at the highest level. Most directors shoot 10, 15, 20 takes of a scene, trying to find the perfect performance, trying to capture some magical moment that will make everything click. Clint shoots 1 or 2 takes, 3 maximum. Because if you're prepared, if you've done the work, you don't need 20 takes. You get it right the first time. This drives some actors crazy. They're used to exploring, to trying different things, to having safety takes in case something goes wrong. But Clint believes something different. He believes that the first take is often the best because it's instinctual, raw. Before the actor has time to overthink it, before they start performing instead of being. He also believes it keeps everyone sharp. When you know you might only get one chance, you bring everything you have. You don't hold back. You don't save anything for take 12. There's a story about Gene Hackman filming Unforgiven, the scene where Little Bill beats William Money nearly to death. It's brutal, visceral, one of the most violent scenes Clint ever directed. They rehearsed it carefully, worked out the choreography, made sure everyone was safe. Then Clint called action. Gene threw himself into it, really beat the hell out of the dummy they were using for some shots, really sold the violence. It was perfect, horrifying, exactly what the scene needed. Clint called cut. That's good. We got it. Gene was confused. Don't you want another take? I can give you different readings. I can try. No, Clint said. That was true. You can't get truer. And that was it. One take. The scene that made it into the film. The scene that people remember 20 years later. This is the rule. This is what matters to Clint Eastwood, not perfection. Truth. Back on $1 Million Baby, Ryan learned this lesson the hard way. After the incident with the punching bag, he became obsessed with being ready. He showed up 2 hours before call time. He practiced his movements. He watched real boxers train. He stopped trying to look like a boxer and started actually being one. And his work improved, not because he became a better actor, because he became more authentic. Near the end of production, there was one final scene involving Ryan, a sparring session in the background while Hillary's character receives devastating news. The scene required Ryan to take a punch and go down. Simple, quick. They set it up, called action. Ryan took the punch wrong. He telegraphed it, made it look fake. It pulled focus from the emotional scene happening in the foreground. Clint didn't yell, didn't lecture. He just walked over and said quietly, "We can do this 2 ways. We can spend an hour getting this right, or we can replace you right now and shoot it tomorrow with someone who's ready. Your choice." Ryan felt his career flash before his eyes. Everything he'd worked for, all the second chances Clint had already given him. He knew this was it. The final test. "Give me 5 minutes," Ryan said. Clint nodded. Ryan disappeared. Found the stunt coordinator. Had him throw real punches, not pulled punches. Learned what it actually felt like to get hit. When he came back, his face was red where he'd taken several shots. But he was ready. They shot it once. Ryan took the punch for real this time. Went down hard. Sold it completely. "Good," Clint said. "That's wrapped." Ryan stood there, breathing hard, realizing what had just happened. He'd passed. Not because he was talented, because he was willing to do the work. Years later, after $1 Million Baby won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, a journalist asked Clint about his reputation for being difficult, for demanding so much, for being willing to fire people rather than compromise. Clint looked at the journalist like the question was absurd. "I don't demand anything unreasonable," he said. "I just ask people to show up prepared and do their job. That's not difficult. That's professional." The journalist pushed back. "But you've fired people, replaced actors mid-production. Twice," Clint said, "in 50 years. And both times it was because they weren't willing to do the work. They thought showing up was enough. It's not. What about second chances?" Clint thought for a moment. "Everyone gets second chances, third chances. I give people room to grow, to learn, to find their way. But there comes a point where you have to decide, are you going to do the work, or are you going to waste everyone's time? And if they choose wrong, then they're gone." Because I'm not making films for ego. I'm making films for the people who buy tickets, who spend their money to see something real. And those people deserve better than half-assed performances from actors who couldn't be bothered to prepare. This is the legacy. Not the films themselves, though they speak volumes, but the standard, the expectation that work matters, that professionalism matters, that showing up prepared isn't optional. It's the baseline. In Hollywood, they tell stories about divas, about actors who show up hours late, about directors who shoot 100 takes because they can't make a decision, about productions that balloon to twice their budget because nobody wants to say no. But they also tell stories about Clint Eastwood, about the man who finishes films under budget and ahead of schedule, who treats crew members with respect, who creates an environment where everyone, from the leads to the extras, knows exactly what's expected. And what's expected is simple. Do the work. Ryan never became a major star. His career had some ups and downs, but he worked steadily for years. And whenever someone asked him about the best director he ever worked with, he always said the same thing: Clint Eastwood. "Because he made me better," Ryan would say. "Not by coddling me, not by making excuses, by holding me to a standard, by refusing to accept anything less than my best. That first day when he threatened to fire me, I thought he was being cruel. But he wasn't. He was being honest. And that honesty changed everything." $1 Million Baby wrapped on schedule, under budget. It premiered in December 2004. Critics called it a masterpiece. Audiences were devastated by its emotional power. The film earned over $216 million worldwide on a $30 million budget. At the Academy Awards, the film won 4 Oscars. When Clint accepted the Best Director award, he kept his speech short, thanked the cast and crew, didn't mention the hard moments, didn't talk about the discipline required, just said, "This is for everyone who showed up and did the work." Because that's all it ever is. Work, real, honest, difficult work. No shortcuts, no excuses, just people who care enough to be professional, who understand that respect for the craft means respecting the audience, that every frame matters, every performance matters, every choice matters. On that September day in 2003, when Clint Eastwood gave Ryan 1 hour to learn how to throw a real punch or be fired, it wasn't about cruelty, it wasn't about power, it was about truth. Because a film is made of 1,000 small choices. And if any of those choices are dishonest, if anything feels fake or lazy or half-hearted, the entire film suffers. The audience might not know exactly what's wrong, but they'll feel it. Clint Eastwood spent his entire career refusing to let audiences feel that wrongness, refusing to accept mediocrity, refusing to compromise. He had one rule: be professional, and if you broke that rule, you were gone. Not because he was difficult, because he cared. About the film, about the craft, about the people who would spend their hard-earned money to see something real. That's who Clint Eastwood is. Not the cowboy, not the tough guy, the professional. The man who understands that respect is earned through work, not given through fame. That the only thing that matters is whether you're willing to do what's necessary. To show up prepared, to give everything you have, to honor the craft and everyone who depends on it. On that sound stage in Burbank, Ryan learned what thousands of actors, crew members, and executives learned over 6 decades. Clint Eastwood's respect cannot be bought, manipulated, or performed for. It can only be earned. Through work, through preparation, through professionalism. And once earned, it's the most valuable thing you can have. Because it means you're not just an actor or a crew member. You're someone Clint Eastwood trusts, someone who understands that every frame matters, someone who does the work. That's the rule, the only rule that ever mattered. And everyone who worked with Clint learned it. Some quickly, some the hard way, but everyone learned, because Clint Eastwood doesn't yell. He doesn't rage. He doesn't make scenes. He just watches, waits. And when you're not ready, when you haven't done the work, he gives you one chance to fix it. And if you don't take that chance, you're gone. Not with anger, not with drama, just quietly removed. Because the work is more important than any individual. The film is more important than ego. The audience is more important than all of it. That's Clint Eastwood, silent, demanding, fair, expecting nothing more than what he gives himself, complete professionalism. And if you can't give that, well, there are 1,000 actors who can. And Clint Eastwood has a film to make. If this story resonated with you, if you believe that work matters, that professionalism isn't optional, that respect is earned through action, not promised through words, then perhaps you'll join me next time. Not because I ask, but because you understand, like Clint understands, that some stories need to be told, and some standards need to be upheld. That's all. See you next time.